and welcome to Riley Photos. But it isn't Riley Photos, is it? It's the Spilotro and Riley experience. That's what you've got here. Because Michael Spilotro over in Washington, D.C., the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. Getting my house ready to sell so that I can make that move to Europe, pretty much a permanent one. How are you, Phil?
I'm absolutely top because we're two professional photographers and we've done a fair few years between us, haven't we?
Yes.
And I want to talk about, as any good fisherman would know, the one that got away. The picture that haunts you because you didn't quite catch it. You know, something happened and you kind of think, oh, if only I'd got that picture, it would have been absolutely fantastic. You got any of those stories?
Well, I do, but I think the jobs that got away are probably a little more impressive.
Okay.
Let your listeners hear, but I could throw one of those in, but I think my most impressive one would be the job that got away. But I'll let you
go for it. Now you come. Let's go with a job that got away. Tell us about a job that got away.
How many people do you know that would walk away from a job that they were offered by National Geographic? I did.
No.
Yes, I did. I had just gotten out of high school and I was working at a photo store, but I was building my portfolio. And I happened to meet a National Geographic photographer because we were one of the only photo labs in D.C. at the time. And I'm talking 1979, 1980, that had a 1-hour photo a processing lab there. And a lot of the Geographic guys were coming there because it was mostly men at the time, because Geographic was only about 3 or 4 blocks away from where I worked. And I began to build relationships with these guys. And then, they started looking at my pictures. And then one of them said, look, we really would like to bring you in so that you can meet our boss. And the boss's name was a guy named Robert Gilka. And he, at the time, was probably the most influential photo editor next to Alexei Brodovich that was working at Condé Nast, probably one of the most influential photo people in the magazine world. So I, got my pictures together and, dressed up nice one day and took a long lunch, and they brought me up there. They knew I was coming. I went upstairs. We sat down. I showed them all of my slides because at the Geographic, 99% of what they shot was slides, and that's what they were used to looking at. And he made a lot of really favorable comments about some of the work that I've done and some of the work that I was exploring. And he said to me, he goes, some of the stuff I'm looking at of yours is some of the best I've ever seen. And I, maybe I felt because I was so young, maybe he was just saying that to make me feel good. But then as things progressed, I could tell that it wasn't. It was actually really truthful, because next thing you know, he says, look, how would you like to have a job at the Geographic? And that's what they called it. The insiders called it the Geographic. Only the outsiders call it National Geographic.
Yeah.
So I looked at him and I said, well, what aspiring photographer wouldn't want to work at the Geographic? And he goes, well, you're not going to be a photographer because you're a little young and we need to make sure that we can season you some. But you would be working in the lab. And you'd start in a lab, just like some of the other photographers, and you'd have to work your way up. And, you and I both know that back in the day, that's how we did it.
Worked.
Done. So I said, okay, well, how much does it pay? And he chuckled and he goes, well, it's an unpaid internship. And I kind of looked at him and I said, well, I said, is there any way that you can get me a stipend or anything? And he looked at me puzzled with a puzzled look and he goes, well, no, not really. And I go, well, my mom is a stay-at-home mother. I've got 3 younger sisters, and I've got, my dad is working for the government, and, I'm going to be, getting ready to go to university, University of Alabama, and, I don't have a scholarship or anything, so I'm going to be paying for school out of my own pocket. So I'd really appreciate if there would be some way that I could earn something while I worked here so that I could at least pay off some of my school. And he said, unfortunately, it's an unpaid internship, but there is a route to becoming a regular photographer at the Geographic. And I, unfortunately, had to turn him down because of the economics.
Oh, no.
Yep. And, every time I go near that building, man, I say to myself, I'm going to be working there.
Oh, no. No, and it was just, they look to those, that the stuff you would have learned. I mean, they would have built on what you were doing. They saw a great promise, didn't they? But the look that those transparency pictures had in Geographic, I don't know how they did that high contrast grainy look that they had.
Well, that was mostly Kodachrome, Phil. They shot, as a matter of fact, Kodak. He told me while I was there, Kodak had a special run, and they picked up and delivered directly to the Geographic every day.
Wow.
Every day.
Wow. So
And
Kodak
remember,
were providing the film and processing it.
well, I don't know if Kodak provided the film, but I know that they made a special run to a Kodachrome lab that was about 15 miles north of where the Geographic was. And if I remember correctly, those machines, those machines were custom made machines, and those things were, a couple $1 million a piece back in the day. Because for some of our folks that don't know, Kodachrome is actually black and white film. So, but they had their own special run. They had a pickup in the morning and a delivery at night, so that they would get their picture. Whenever somebody came back into DC from being out on the road, they wanted to see what those pictures looked like right away.
Because when I was at art college, going back, and I wanted to be a photographer, I was an aspiring photographer. I'd look at Geographic, National Geographic, and look at that, and also be aware that these guys were getting like 6 months to shoot a 10-picture job. They go off, and I mean, the Bridges of Madison County, that film, that was, a National Geographic shoot, wasn't it? Alleged, in the film, the Clint Eastwood film, and that's how it was. They went off for months at a time to really explore. And did they write the kind of extended caption stories that went with it as well?
Well, I know that a few of the photographers took very copious notes, and that some of those notes would be included in the story because, again, oftentimes the writers didn't go with them.
No.
They were busy, trying to build the story. So the photographer actually had to also do, bits and pieces of the journalism for those pieces. So, that's probably my biggest photo regret.
Okay, let's think if I got a photo regret. The biggest photo regret from a job that comes to mind. Okay, a good friend of mine, Andy Richardson. I worked with him as he was a reporter. I was a photographer at local newspapers, and he got a job in London at a big sort of music publication, the NME, I think it was, a New Music Express.
Very familiar with it.
Okay, big publication. Anyway, first time Prince came to the UK, and he was playing Wembley. I think it was Wembley. It was London anyway. I'm going back to the 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, I suppose. Anyway, I digress. I get a phone call on Friday afternoon from Andy, and he said, Phil, how are you? I said, yeah, I'm good. A bit tired. I've just been on a weekend duty. The paper I worked for, you worked all week, but every 4 weeks you had to work the weekend. So you worked a long run. You worked the week, you worked the weekend, you worked another week, then you got a weekend off. And so I'd just done that long run. I was tired. Kids were young. I was looking forward to he said, look, I don't know what you feel about this, but I've got a percentage of a chance of an exclusive interview with Prince in his hotel room, and I just wondered if you wanted to come along and be the photographer. And I said, where? And he said, tonight, London. It'd be like sort of 11 o'clock after sound checks and that, the concert's tomorrow night. And I just wondered, and I said, I'm a big Prince fan. I'd love to photograph Prince. I'd love to have a one-to-one. And I said, realistically, Andy, be honest with me. What's the chances? And he said, well, I've asked the Prince's management, and they've said it's not a no. And I said, what are the chances? And he went, 80-20 against. 80-20 against. I went, Andy, I've had a really, really busy 2 weeks with a weekend shift. Looking forward to seeing my wife and the kids this weekend. If it was like 50-50, I'd go for it, but I'm really sorry. I'm on my knees. Can you get a local photographer? He said, yeah, I can get a snapper in London. That's no problem. I just thought I'd offer it to you. So, of course, what did I have to do? What did I have to do on Sunday morning? I had a ring in, didn't I? And he said, I wish you hadn't called me. We got the interview. He said, I got almost an hour in Prince's hotel room with him one-to-one, and he did any pictures we wanted. Apparently, it all was to do with moods. Quite often, you got like one picture. Quite often, you got a long time, and I missed it. I could have gone. I missed it.
Oh, Phil.
And
those pictures would be worth a fortune right now.
Yeah. I know. And you make your decision there and then. I had a similar one, not to hog the limelight, but one weekend I was taking the kids camping, and the chief photographer came and said, "Oh, we got a freebie here. I don't know if you're interested. Concorde was decommissioned, and they were doing some pleasure flights, and it was the last pleasure flights that weekend, the last flights of Concorde, and they were going out from Heathrow, across Wales, out over the Bay of Biscay in a loop, pleasure flights, bringing them back through Wales, landing, And I said, look, I'm really sorry to the chief photographer. I'm going to have to pass on this. I'm taking the kids camping, my wife and the kids, looking forward to it. I'm really sorry. And he said, yeah, okay. Went camping. I'm sitting on a hillside with my son, who's about 6, 7 at the time. Maybe he's a bit older, actually. He went, Dad, look at that over there. What's that? Coming towards us at about 800 feet is Concorde, and as it flies over, this huge, beautiful bird of an aeroplane, I said, I could have been on that. And he went, what do you mean? And I said, well, I had the opportunity to go on that, but I said I'd come camping with you. And he looked at me, and I thought he was going to say, oh, thanks, Dad. And he went, you idiot.
You have a child that grounded you. I figured that was what it was. I figured that was what the ending was going to be. Right when you're burning your beans and franks, all of a sudden it just flies over your head. Well, I got a music one too. I do have a music one too. I did a job for Circus Magazine in the early 90s when Guns N' Roses and Metallica were doing the stadium tour.
Yeah.
Eventually, some of my Metallica pictures were sold all over, but unfortunately, and I didn't know this, no one told me anything about it. Circus said, "Hey, look, you go there, you shoot the pictures, and then send them to us, and we'll, it's the inaugural show of the tour happened in Washington D.C. at RFK Stadium, and they said, these pictures are going to be the premier pictures. We'll probably wind up running them a couple of times because these are going to be important." So I get to the stadium a couple hours early, made sure all my lighting, I had a light meter. I was reading everything with a spot meter, shot Kodachrome 200. Metallica comes out. I get some unbelievable photos. And then all of a sudden, some people come and they grab me and they go, "You got to go." And I go, whoa. I got here's my press pass. Here's this. And they go, no. Axl Rose doesn't like Circus Magazine, so you got to go. And they threw me out of RFK Stadium. And again, imagine having those photos in my library. They'd be worth a fortune.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was, and it was very, very unceremonious. While I was walking through the bowels of the stadium before Guns N' Roses came out, they were literally riding by me in golf carts to get ready to go on stage. And there was a female publicist. I forget what her name was. Really nice lady. I mean, I didn't take it personally. It was just no one told me that this magazine had a feud with them. I didn't know. And she just said, "Look, I'm sorry, but you have to understand that the magazine has said a few things and written a few things that the guys in the band were not happy with. So we appreciate you showing up, but we're not going to let you take any pictures." and it's like, well, okay, thanks for throwing a little more gasoline on that fire.
Yeah, God. Yeah, and you'll always be thinking, what if I'd have done those pictures?
Absolutely.
Ah, man. Well, what else have I got? Not photographing prints. There's times when you really should take a picture because, that something in you tells you that you should take a picture, but you just can't. And that happened to me only once. I've been in, covered riots, big sort of situations where crowds have been out of control, and you always, but there was one occasion when I was working for a zoo, this one time, a long time ago, and we had a photograph the vet coming in because a couple of the bears, I got some brown bears, and two of the brown bears had fallen out and had a little bit of a squabble, and the one had swiped the other one's face, and its claw just caught its tooth, and it just yanked it, broke it in half. It was kind of hanging off, and they couldn't leave this, it would get infected, and so they said, we're going to have to get in with this brown bear, and the vet's going to have to go in and extract it like a dentist. And it was kind of, sort of, we get it in the pit area. There's like a pit area that you can get it in, isolate it. So they did that, and I'm there with the curator and the vet, and a big ladder. Now the curator has got a rifle with the dart in with the tranquilizer. So he shoots the bear with the tranquilizer dart, and we wait 5 minutes, and this bear just keeps walking around. It's not doing it. It's like, hey, yeah. So he'll have to give him, the vets have to give him another one. And the bear slows down a bit, but he ain't going to sleep. So he said, okay, well, I can only give him, you said you can only give him one more of these, you can't give him any more than one more of these. So one more. And then this time we wait, and the bear sways a little bit, and it sways and it rocks, and sure enough, down he goes off to sleep. So the curator said, right, get the ladder over, let's get in, let's get this done quickly, and we'll get out. You get the pictures of the vet, doing the tooth, because we like to show that, we look after the animals and whatnot. And it's not every day that you have a dentist into a bear.
And it's not a day that you're photographing a dentist working on a bear.
We put the ladder down, and we climb down into this bear pit, all three of us, and we turn around and we take 3 steps towards the bear, and the bear just gets up and looks at us.
Oh.
And the 3 of us are in the bear pit looking at the bear, and I'm thinking to myself, I really should take a picture of this bear right now because it might be the last picture that I ever take. It might be like my final ever picture. I really should photograph. If this bear's going to run at me, I should take a picture of it, but I can't move. And we stare at the bear, and the curator and the vet said, nobody move. I wasn't moving, Michael, I wasn't moving. And then suddenly it fell back down, went back to sleep again. But that was a close call. I should have taken that picture.
Did you ever get pictures of the dentist doing the procedure?
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did the picture, and then we got out. But it was just that one moment. You do things like that, don't you? And you just think, what am I doing here?
Right. Well, I'm Phil. These are some wonderful stories. I love to hear the story of the bear. That was great.
And what about the Metallica? You still got your Metallica pictures?
I do have my Metallica pictures. My Metallica pictures did make me some money over the years. They sold a number of times when I was working with a photo agency out of New York. I had a number of photos that were bestseller. I was at a show, not a show, but at a big demonstration in Washington, D.C. In the early 90s as well, before I moved to New York. And I was covering this event, and it was called Housing Now. And a lot of A-listers from Hollywood. And I got a photo of Tom Cruise with his wife at the time, the one that he married that was in that stock car movie with him. I think she's married to Keith Urban right now. I forget her name. But I was one of the only people that had a photo of the two of them together. And I think that picture ran in People magazine. It ran in Parade magazine a number of times. It ran in, a lot of the celebrity magazines around the world. And I believe, probably over the lifetime of that picture, probably made about $12,000. So,
Wow. Wow. I'm just thinking, I bet that, there might be some people out there, big Metallica fans, and, or maybe you've done other bands, obviously, and because you only get, these days, you only get like the first track, don't you? Is it first two
well,
these days in the
Metallica,
pit?
Metallica was different. They let you shoot the last three.
Oh, the last three.
The last three, because they wanted all that sweat and grime and the hair sticking on their face. And,
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good idea, because now it's completely different, because the press go in the pit for the first, like, is it two songs? And sometimes it's just a song
yeah.
and a half.
Exactly. Well, and now they've even made it less. But it's gotten to the point where there's some unions in America that say that if you're working for a magazine, if you're not working for a daily paper, they want you to cut them in on any of the resales that you get on that photo. So they want to jump on the copyright and be a co-copyright holder with you.
Wow.
So that's one of the whole reasons
Cool,
why
isn't
I've
it?
stopped. Yeah, it's one of the whole reasons why I won't shoot music anymore. And I mean, I shoot music. I just shot a guy the other day who's an unbelievable guitarist, but I shot him in a small club, and he wanted me there. And I've done photos of him before. And I mean, I'll shoot local musicians, or I'll shoot people that have worldwide reputations, but I do not go to the big venues anymore, because it's not worth it. You could drive 60, 80, 100 miles, and then you show up, and like it had happened to me before. I got a call from a big music star, and they wanted some photos for a project they were working on. They wanted some photos for the brochure that they sell at the concerts. So I drove about 100 miles to get to the venue, so that and I was supposed to have full access. And I get there, and they go, "Who are you?" And I go, "Well, I'm so and so." And then they gave me the riot act. They said, "Well, since you're going to be making money on these, and since the union are the people that are setting up the lighting, so some of their creative freedom and some of the artistic things that they do, you're going to be getting paid on. So now we want you to cut us in on the copyright." Well, I wound up calling up LA, because it was a 3 or 4 hour difference, and I luckily caught the people at the management company in the office, and I said, "Hey, I just got told that these folks are not going to let me shoot your guy unless I cut him in on the copyrights." And they said, "That's just crazy." And I put the union steward on the phone, and they went at it, and I got the phone back, and they said, "We're going to pay you, just leave."
Oh, really? That's what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been backstage at certain halls where I had to have a union individual move my lights for me. Yes. They would take the light stand. I set up a light stand and put a light on there because I was using a softbox, because it was one person. They flipped out. They said, "You can't do that." And they charged the record label that I was doing the job for $500 just for the guy to move the light. I had 15 minutes with this person. The union charged $500, and the union actually made more money moving the light around than I made shooting the job.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I make this stuff up. It's just like, are you kidding me? So I don't go. I don't like going to any venues, and if I do go to a venue, I tell the artists and the artist management, the first person that comes to me and says, "What are you doing here? Who are you? Why are you taking pictures?" I'm not even going to say goodbye. I'm just leaving.
Yeah.
I just, it's just like if I would go up to the union guys going, "Hey, you're putting up those lights wrong." I mean, I don't know about the lights that they're hanging from the stage. So, why are they messing with me? But that's the whole reason why I won't shoot any more music unless I have a relationship with the artists themselves, and the artists themselves tell the people, "This is my guy. He's going to go wherever I go. I want him on the stage. I want him taking pictures of everything that happens backstage, and I don't want anybody to bother him."
Right, right. Well, look, what I'm going to do now is say to anybody watching, if you want to see those Metallica pictures of Michael, if you comment to him really nicely down in the comment section, maybe he'll show us some of those pictures. Maybe we can come on and and look at some of the some of the music stuff, if you could share that, and maybe talk through shooting music, everything from the big stage to the small venue. I mean, I'm guessing there's a lot of people perhaps shooting not so much the big stage but the small venue with low lighting, and how you make the most of that.
You would be shocked because not many people go into these small venues unless they're amateurs. I shot this, as I said, you saw the pictures I posted on Instagram a few days ago.
Yeah.
If I didn't bring the 85 1.2 and the 50 1.2 for the Nikons, those photos I would have had to shoot at 6400 or above to stop the action.
Okay.
So if you're in a small club and the lighting is not that good, you need to bring some serious glass so that you can capture the stuff. Now, I was lucky. I think most of the imagery I shot was at 3200, and I was shooting at about 400th of a second all the way open with both of the lenses.
Yeah, but you know what? Noise, there's times when noise is really annoying, but there's times when it really adds to a picture. Music, you can get away with noise, can't you, with music? Because
you certainly can.
It's that effect, and that's what photography is, isn't it? You're creating not just an image, not just a moment in time, but a feeling about what it was like to actually be the person looking at it.
Totally. There is a blast of, you get a blast of adrenaline when the people on stage play songs that you are really familiar with, and you hear the crowd going crazy. It's just that the whole business has changed, and again, I'm avoiding it. I'm too old to have someone who's trying to squeeze a couple of bucks out of me when I'm supposed to be a part of the team. And I'm not doing it because I want to be cool. I'm doing it because I have water bills and electric bills to pay.
Yeah. So look, if anybody watching this is interested in seeing those pictures or other genres, we're both professional photographers. Michael, you did that, but you were not specifically a rock photographer. I was a press photographer. I can talk about press photography and press imaging. I'm a people photographer, essentially. That's what I do. I take pictures, predominantly of people, because I left the newspaper industry in 2000 to look at working for the commercial world, doing business-to-business communications. And that's what I do, which is mostly about communicating around people. Sometimes products, but mostly, people. And we can touch on any of these areas. I mean, you did catwalks for some, pretty amazing clients, didn't you?
I've had photos in Vogue, and probably 8 or 9 different Vogue. Europe, different Vogues around the world. I've had pictures in some of the L's. I've had pictures in Allure. So yeah, I've had some photos around. Again, that's another genre that is where people, in my opinion, are not getting the monies that they deserve when they go and shoot it. I quickly saw that. Again, it's not about the coolness. That when you're young and you don't have many bills, yeah, it's great to go and you're passionate about the business, and you're meeting people, and these different places that you go and things that you see and pictures that you take are exhilarating and exciting and might be able to help your portfolio. But at the end of the day, when you're guys like you and I, unfortunately, the power company doesn't take a photo credit for
no, they don't. And we both talked before, haven't we, about industries that we know that have been destroyed by, and I know professionals that have had niche markets that have just done a particular style of photography. Both of them were sports, but what happened is they lost the ability to do that professionally anymore, because a lot of amateur photographers came along and said, hey, look, if you let me in, if you give me an accreditation to come in and take some pictures, I'll give you all my pictures for free.
Right.
It was just being there that they wanted access, and that meant that professional photographer that had been doing it and selling pictures, for years, suddenly who was going to buy his pictures when people are giving them free? Okay, his picture's probably going to be, I would hasten, maybe a little bit more. I'm not going to say better, because the amateur might have been a great photographer, but he would have had a lot of experience to draw on about where the best pictures were, and more of his pictures would have been usable, I suspect. But the bottom line is money talks. They went with the free pictures.
Sure. Well, the thing that I learned early on was that, why go and show up right when the show's getting ready to start and take those, first 2 or 3 songs. So I would insist, when I got an assignment, to be able to be there during sound check, because during sound check, they're also doing lighting as well. So I would kind of be able to see what they were going to do and how the lighting was going to be while they were doing certain songs before the actual concert. So I would kind of, I wouldn't go there and shoot by chance. I would go there having a little bit of knowledge of what the stage was going to be like and how they were going to, be and where they were going to be for certain songs and that type of thing. So that was one of the reasons why some of the pictures that I did, had legs on them, and they were making money down the road.
But also, you knew what you were doing, and that's the thing. Because somebody who, like you, is photographing people in the music industry at a time in your life. You're doing a lot of that. You know what you're going into, and you've got an idea of what you want to get. Let me tell you a story. I wasn't a music photographer, but once, as a commercial photographer, I got a commission come in from Jack Daniels, and they said, "Oh, we need a picture of a band backstage after a concert with Jack Daniels. They're synonymous with liking Jack Daniels, and we want some pictures of them with the guests backstage having a good time. If you could sort of G people up, so we can have some nice natural backstage pictures with a bit of vibe on and things." I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a really cool job." And I thought, you know what, just to get a flavour, I'm going to go half an hour before the end of this concert, just go in and have a listen. So I went up to this concert, opened the doors, and I can hear the sound now. I was hearing it for 4 days. 4 days afterwards. It was the loudest. I couldn't hear anything afterwards for quite a while. It was a Pantera concert.
Oh, well, here, Phil, I was just going through an old camera bag, and look what I found. Yeah.
And for the benefit of the viewers, that's earplugs, by the way.
Yeah, folks. Anybody who's doing music, you need about 4 or 5 packages of these things
At once.
Exactly. I was going through a camera bag I hadn't been in about 20 years, and lo and behold, I found a bunch of bags of earplugs that I hadn't used. But then again, folks, if you want a pro tip, you can always go to the bathroom and get a piece of toilet paper or some paper towel. Take a small bit, put it in your mouth, chew it up, and then stick it in your ear, and it works almost as well.
Yeah, but on your own head be it, because that might get stuck in your ear, and they might be ringing you up saying, "Hey, hang on a minute, you said this is a great idea. Now I've got a piece of toilet roll stuck in my ear, mate. What are you going to do about it?"
Make one that's about the size of a piece of bubble gum and work with it.
Hey, on that note, I think we'll end it for today. It's been great chatting. Please leave us a comment, and these videos, we don't do them for the likes. We just like to chat, don't we, about stuff that's happened. But if you can find 1 second to give us a like, it just makes a huge difference on the YouTube-y, algorithm-y kind of thing, and it helps us find more people who want to listen to a couple of old duffers chatting about photography. And if there's anything that we might have done that you're interested in, or any pictures you want to see, catwalks, Metallica, or all that kind of thing, or famous people, or whatnot, let us know in the comments, and we'll see if we can put something together. But for now, it's goodbye from this side of the Atlantic.
Goodbye from the Washington, D.C. area.
And we'll see you next time.
Ciao.